Hello my dear students and welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today we are doing a very important chapter from ICSE class 10, that is endocrine glands, and this is part 1 of the lecture series for endocrine glands. So the first question arises in our mind is, why do we need an endocrine system? For the regulation of body activities. So why there is a need of regulation of body activities? We all know that in our body there are many systems that are there. This is a respiratory system, this is a skeletal system, muscular system, you can see this is a digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system. So all these systems go hand in hand. Okay, so the functioning of one system depends on the other, and there is a harmonious relationship, a coordination between all these systems so that our body can work efficiently, right? So there has to be a regulation in these activities. One after another something should happen. So if the muscles will contract, then only the bone will move. Okay, so all of them are interrelated. So the activities in our body are highly complex, right? We all know that we have highly complex body. So the activities in our body are highly complex and they need to be so regulated that every activity takes place at a proper time and in a correct sequence. Every activity should take place at its time and in a proper sequence one by one. That is why we need a regulation of the body activities, and endocrine system plays a very vital role in it, right? For example, gastric juice, bile juice and pancreatic juice should be poured into the food canal only when there is food in it. So if you see this, whenever there is food in our stomach, okay, then only you can see saliva pouring in, bile pouring in, intestinal juice pouring in, right? From the stomach, acid pours in, pancreatic juice pours in whenever there is food. So if there is no food, these juices will not be released. So there's a coordination, right? So though this kind of regulation is done to some extent by nervous system. You know what is nervous system? I have already explained you nervous system. You can see here an example. There's a nerve cell neuron. Okay. So the message, okay, is passed through this axon. So this is the action potential, and then the neurotransmitter gives the signal, gives the chemical signal. See, neurotransmitter receptor molecule. Okay, this is the neurotransmitter receptor molecule, you can see here, and this is the target cell. So here, through the nerve impulse, okay, not through chemicals, sorry, through nerve impulse, through electrical signals, we can say, okay, this regulation is done. But okay, it is also brought by chemical regulators called hormones. So here there is electric signal or nerve impulse which passes through this long axon. Okay, then there are neurotransmitter molecules which is accepted by neuroreceptor molecule and it affects the target cell, right? But here what happens now, it is also brought about, this regulation is also brought about by chemical regulators called hormones. So can you see, this is an endocrine gland or an endocrine cell. So from this the hormone molecules are released. Now where these hormone molecules go, there is no duct, okay, there is no axon here. So what happens, it is directly poured into the blood. So you can see here a blood vessel. So this is getting poured into the blood. Now through the blood vessels, okay, through the blood, it receives it goes to the target cell जहाँ पे उसका requirement है, right? And here is the hormone receptor molecule on the target cell, and these hormones are received here, right? So the regulation is brought about by two. First is through nervous system, through nerve impulses, and second is by chemical regulators called hormones, where horma means to stir up, to excite, or to put into action. So now let's talk about what is the difference between this neural control and hormonal control. So neural control, its action is always and always quick. There's a quick action. There are long axons in our body, long nerve fibers in our body. So whenever there is a, whenever we are talking about a neural control, the action is very quick. Okay, the message passes through an electrical signal. So it passes very quickly, and to the brain it takes the message, and again from the brain it takes to the target organ very quickly. Right? Hormonal control. Now hormonal control at times may be quick also, but most of the times it is slow acting. So it may be quick acting or slow acting. Now, in neural control, the information is transmitted as electrochemical nerve impulse. Remember, information is transmitted in the neural control as electrochemical nerve impulses. Whereas in hormonal control, the information is transmitted as chemical messengers called hormones. So here the nerve impulse that are electrical in nature, electrochemical nerve impulse, takes the messages, and here the hormones take the messages, and they are known as chemical messengers. Okay. Now in neural control, the impulse transmission occurs through nerve fibers. We saw in the diagram the transmission is happening through the nerve fibers. Okay, through the long axons it is traveling. Now here the hormonal transmission occurs through blood. We showed you the diagram. The hormones were directly poured into blood. In the neural control, the information would be towards a specific direction, the effector organ or the central nervous system. Therefore, it affects only the particular muscles or the glands, and we can say its effect is local. Okay, what do you mean by this? See, whenever there is a neural message, okay, it will travel in a particular direction, and it will directly reach the effector organ. Either it will reach the effector organ directly, the messages from the brain will reach to the effector organ if we have touched something hot, and then we will release our hand. Or the information, when you touch something, the information from this skin goes to the central nervous system. So two ways it is there. So information would be towards a specific direction, either effector organ or the central nervous system, and therefore it affects only the particular muscles. Right? अगर if the information is coming from here to the muscles here, that बच्चों हाथ हटा लो, कोई गर्म चीज है, right? So it is affecting a particular muscle, right? Or if there is a gland involved in it कि कोई hormone secrete करना है, for example, if you see your favorite food, okay, your salivary glands start secreting saliva. Right? This is also a neural control. So here also it is affecting your salivary glands. So it is affecting a particular gland. So that is why we say its action is local. But what happens in hormonal control? Hormones are directly released in the general blood circulation. Directly hormones are released in the blood, from where it is taken by the blood to the specific receptor, and therefore it affects. So blood travels through every body part, it will go to every body part, so it affects different organs as well. Okay, so its effect is felt widespread in the body. Okay, because it is not going in a particular direction through a nerve, it is poured into the blood. So blood is taken to it goes to every body part, so every body part is affected, every organ is affected. But what happens, receptor is at the target organ only. So though the effect has been felt widespread in the body, but target organs takes up maximum of that hormones. Okay. Now in neural control, it is suitable for quick reactions like reflexes, as I gave you the example of reflexes just now. Okay, it is suitable for quick reactions. But in hormonal control, it is suitable for long-term changes, such as the maintenance of pregnancy. Pregnancy happens for a period of 36 weeks, or you can say for a period of 9 months. So for the 9 months, the same hormones make long-term changes in your body. Okay. The effect is short time. Okay. In neural control, the effect is short time, and this is a long-lasting effect. Now, in neural control cannot affect growth, whereas hormonal control can affect growth. When we talk about growth hormones and other hormones in the upcoming lectures, you will understand that due to hormones, due to oversecretion of maybe a hormone, there is a disease called gigantism. Due to less secretion, dwarfism. So it affects growth of our body, whereas neural control does not affect growth. Now, neural control does not influence chemical changes and hence it cannot regulate the metabolism. We know here there are no chemicals involved. Here there is only electrochemical nerve impulse that is going. Okay. So it is not influencing any chemical change in our body and therefore the metabolism of our body is not affected. It is not been influenced by neural control. Whereas in hormonal control, it can bring about specific chemical changes and it regulates our metabolism. Now, in neural control, this can be modified to some extent by learning from the previous experience. Now, if we know, okay, the smell of certain food, or if we know that this is our favorite food, so our saliva will start secreting, right? If we know that this object is hot, we will, from our previous experience, we know it is hot, so we will not touch it. So neural control is modified to some extent by learning from the previous experience, whereas hormonal control cannot be modified by learning from previous experience. I hope you have understood this. So let us talk about hormones in detail. Now hormones, what are hormones? Hormones are secretions. कहाँ से secrete होते हैं? Hormones are secretions from specific cells or glands, and then they are carried to all the parts of the blood. But okay, they are carried to all the parts by blood, but their effect is produced in one or more specific parts, that is target organs or cells only. Okay, so now you see this is the secreting cell. Okay, it can be a specific cell or a gland. Okay, it is secreted by this. Can you see this green colored hormones? Now these hormones enter the bloodstream. It is entering the bloodstream. Now the blood takes it to each and every organ. Okay, but not everywhere it is released. Now here you can see a target cell. Now target cell has this type of a shape. Okay, these are called receptor organs. So a particular hormone will fit into a particular receptor organ of a particular target cell only, right? So if it fits into this, okay, you can see here it is fitting into this. It is going here and fitting into this, right? So hormones are secreted from specific cells or glands. They are poured into the bloodstream. They are taken to different parts by blood, but their effect is produced in one or more specific parts known as target organs or target cells only, right? Because different target organs, different target cells have different receptors which are specific for a particular hormone, like a lock and key system, isn't it? A particular lock gets opened only by a particular key. In the same way, there are different receptors for different hormones. So that is why it acts at a specific part or specific target organ only. The effect is produced only there. Now, why are hormones called chemical messengers? This is a very common question that is asked. कि hormones को chemical messenger क्यों कहा जाता है? The hormones are carried to all the parts of the body through blood circulation to bring about the harmonious working of the body. So they are called chemical messengers. I have already explained you this. Now, what happens when there is an excess secretion of these hormones? So this is known as hypo is when it is in lower quantity. Okay, hyper is when it is in excess. I'm so sorry. Hypo means when it is lower. Okay, what happens when there is a less secretion of a particular hormone? So it is known as hyposecretion. This refers to condition where the hormone is secreted in lower than normal quantities. So different hormones cause different deficiency. Obviously, when it is secreted in a lesser quantity, so there will be a deficiency, and different deficiencies are caused due to hyposecretion of different hormones. This we will study in the upcoming lectures where I'll talk about different endocrine glands and the hormones secreted by them. Now hyper मतलब ज्यादा है ना, हम बोलते हैं कि some kid is very hyper, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिव है, right? So hyper is more secretion. So this refers to a condition where the hormone is secreted in excess. Different hormones cause different condition when secreted in excess. This also we will study in the upcoming lectures. Okay. Now let's talk about the general properties of hormones. So first, the hormones are secreted from their source directly into the blood. I told you, from a secreting cell or a secreting gland, it goes directly into the blood and not into the lymph. Okay, many a times students get confused. It gets poured into the blood and not into the lymph. Okay. Second, not into the lymph. Second, they regulate the physiological process by chemical means. है ना, न्यूरल वाला कौन सा था? न्यूरल was electrochemical nerve impulse. Electrochemical means, right? And this is chemical means. That was electric impulse and this is purely chemicals. So कैसे regulate करते हैं? By chemical means. They affect the enzyme system of our body. Next property is they act on the target organs or cells which are usually away from the source. So the hormones are secreted at one place. Okay, for example, the thyroid and parathyroid secrete some hormones. Okay, and it is being used at some different body part which is far away from this place, isn't it? So they act on target cell organs or cells which are usually away from the source. Then hormones produced in one species usually show similar influence in the other species. This also you should remember, that a growth hormone, for example, will produce the same effect in one species. Okay, in one species also it will bring about the changes in the growth pattern. So similar influence is shown in other species also. It's not that it will show some other effect in some other species, right? Growth hormone will show growth only, whether it is, secreted in humans or secreted in some other animals. Now, next property is they are produced in very, very small quantities. We can say in trace quantities they are produced, and they are biologically extremely active. Okay, so that is why we say बहुत कम, ठीक है, कम क्वांटिटी में रिलीज होने के बाद भी बहुत बायोलॉजिकली एक्टिव है. इतना सा भी इतना एक्टिव है कि सब काम हो जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एड्रेनलिन is active even in a concentration of 1 part in these many parts. Can you see how many zeros are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 and 8 zeros. तो इतने सारे पार्ट्स में अगर एक पार्ट एड्रेनलिन है तो भी वो एक्टिव है, राइट? So chemically, some hormones are peptides. What are peptides? Proteins such as insulin. Okay. So chemically, some hormones are peptides like proteins such as insulin, which are water soluble. So peptides are water soluble. Some are amines. Amines are derived from amino acids such as adrenaline. Again, they are also water soluble. And some are steroids. Steroids are which one? Which are derived from cholesterol such as testosterone. And steroids are lipid soluble. So you have to understand that hormones can be peptides, amines or steroids. These two are water soluble and this is lipid soluble. You should know कि peptide कौन से होते हैं? Protein, जैसे कि insulin. Okay. Amines are derived from amino acids such as adrenaline. And steroids are derived from cholesterol such as testosterone, right? So some hormones are peptides, amines or steroids. Now their excess, okay, that is hyper hai bacha, right? Excess, hyper secretion or over secretion, या फिर deficiency, that is hypo or under secretion. Both may lead to serious consequences. मतलब ज्यादा भी है यानी हाइपर या ओवर सेक्रेशन है तो भी प्रॉब्लम है, या डेफिशिएंसी है मतलब कि हाइपो और अंडर सेक्रेशन है तो भी सीरियस कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हो सकते हैं. दिस वी विल टॉक अबाउट इन द अपकमिंग लेक्चर्स वेयर वी विल टेक ईच एंड एवरी एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड सेपरेटली. Now hormones are not stored in the body anywhere. Okay, you should remember they are not stored in the body. Once the hormones are released, they act upon a target organ and then they are flushed out of our body system. Okay, so hormones are not stored in the body and are excreted from the system. Now let's talk about some interesting facts about hormones. First, some glands, for example, pancreas. Okay. Now, pancreas can both be endocrine as well as exocrine in nature. Endocrine कौन से glands होते हैं बेटा? Ductless, जिनका कोई duct नहीं होता है, right? They pour their secretion directly into the blood, whereas exocrine are with ducts. तो कुछ जो glands होते हैं, they are like pancreas, can be both endocrine and exocrine in nature. Now, testes and ovaries have dual function. अब next जो है testes and ovaries, okay, these are also our glands, so they have two functions. For example, they produce hormones as well as gametes, right? We know what are the gametes. Okay, male gamete is sperm and female gamete is ova. So they produce hormones as well as gametes that are needed for the reproduction. So it's not that if there is an endocrine gland, it will only secrete hormone. It can do two functions as well. Right? The pituitary gland. This is also very important. The pituitary gland is called the master gland. Which is the master gland? Pituitary gland. Because what does the master do? It controls everyone. Okay? It controls all the people working under him. So in the same way, pituitary gland produces secretions. They secrete some, they produce some secretions, and these secretions control the action of other glands. Right? So that is why pituitary gland is called master gland, because it secretes, it produces secretions to control the actions of other glands. And last but not the least, certain hormones are also produced from such glands. This is such. ऐसे glands से produce होते हैं और ऐसे body parts से which otherwise have a different primary function. For example, stomach and duodenum. Stomach has a function of collecting food. Stomach, duodenum also has a certain function. So their primary function is different, but they also release certain hormones, certain secretions. Okay, stomach releases gastric juice, right? Do you remember? So main function, their primary function is something else, but they also release certain hormones. Most hormones are secreted by special glands. We have already studied. These special glands are called endocrine glands. Endo means inside and crine means separate, meaning secrete internally. Okay, they secrete internally in the bloodstream. And since they do not have any duct, they are known as ductless glands also, because their secretions are poured directly into the blood and not through any special duct. Okay. So I hope you have got a slight fair idea about what are endocrine glands. Endo inside, crine separate. They secrete internally and they are called ductless glands because they pour their secretions directly into the bloodstream. Now we know now what are endocrine glands. So what is endocrine system? So endocrine system consists of several glands. बहुत सारे glands मिलाकर endocrine system बनता है. So it consists of several glands or maybe glandular cells, which brings about the overall common function of chemical coordination in the body. We know what does different secretions or hormones do. Okay, they bring about a chemical coordination in the body. From the very first slide we have studied that why we need an endocrine system, why we need endocrine glands. So all these glands collectively work together to serve a common function of chemical coordination in the body. So almost all the endocrine glands act in a coordinated manner. The way in which all the organs of the digestive system work in a coordinated manner, in the same way, all these glands, all these endocrine glands, they act in a coordinated manner, one after another. And they activate each other and work as a system of organs called endocrine system. So we know what is a system. A system is defined as a group of organs performing an overall common function. In the same way, all the endocrine glands work in a coordinated manner. They activate each other and work as a system of organs. And this system of organs is known as endocrine system, right? So we will be talking, so we have these 7 different endocrine glands that are found in our body. Pituitary gland, that is the master gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, thymus gland, pancreas, adrenal gland, and gonads, that is testis and ovary. Okay, in our portion we do not have to study all 7 of them in detail, but we should know that these are the 7 endocrine glands found in our body. Okay, this is a pictorial representation. Okay, so these are the different glands, just that the gonads are different. Okay, the gonads are different, otherwise all the glands are common in male and female. Okay, so in our next upcoming lecture we will be talking about these 4 glands that we have in our course. So I hope you have enjoyed today's class. You have understood the basics of endocrine system. In the next class, we will be talking about one by one all the glands, and then we will do a lot of important questions that can be asked from this topic. I hope you have liked. If you have liked this video, do give it a thumbs up, do share it with your friends, and keep the learning always on. All the best.